Hey, I'm Jon Thelen. Today on Fish Head, we're right behind a storm, and man, this is the kind of deal. When I say a storm, I'm talking a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. It's gonna affect the fishing a little bit today, but we're gonna get after some smallmouth, and we're just gonna make some adjustments. And you can still catch fish even behind these storms. You just got to make a few adjustments. We'll talk about those today and show you exactly how to do it, because I'll tell you what, midsummer smallmouth fishing can be some of the best fishing of the year, even behind a major thunderstorm. Stay right where you're at. Fish Head's coming up. There's one. Yep, just chewing on it. I'm gonna just feed this fish. Slid up here just a hair shallower, 13, 14 feet of water. A little bit of a struggle this morning figuring out exactly where these fish are gonna be. We had monster storms come through here. In fact, I considered not fishing because a lot of times, man, it's tough behind these storms. But you know what? I was halfway here. I just decided we're gonna swing at it and see what happens, see if this fish is here. Oh yeah, he is, look at that. Got him. So I'll tell you what, this just kind of goes to show that sometimes, even in these scenarios, you're still gonna catch fish. I mean, it's just gonna take some adjustment. And that's what we've done right away here this morning, is I've just kind of, instead of going up on top, looking for these fish where I expected them to be, I'm fishing out off the edge of this rock pile. We're smallmouth fishing today, and you know, we might get a little bit of a variety as we go, because I know there's walleyes at this time of the year on a couple of these spots too. But I'll tell you what, this is a good smallie to start. I'll tell you that. That's awesome. And when you can get a fish on basically your first pass on a spot. Now, I've fished a couple other spots, working my way down to this one, trying to find the right area, and maybe this is going to be the ticket, is just getting, oh yeah, nice smallie. Look at this. I don't know that he's done yet though. Nope, he's not. I didn't think he was. Look at this. But after just working my way down here, there you go. That's an awesome way to start a day fishing right there. Look at this guy. This is just a beautiful big smallmouth bass. We are fishing a clear water lake today. Water's really, really clear here, and you gotta work to get these fish. They're not as simple as on a dirtier water lake, but this technique we're using that we'll talk about today is just deadly on lakes like that. Look at that. That's just a big fat smallmouth bass. What a great way to start our day. Like I was saying, I was a little concerned about those storms, but I'll tell you what, I think that this is a sign that we're gonna be okay. That's a great fish to start. Let's get this guy back. There he goes. That's awesome. It's gonna be a fun day fishing, I think. Just get lined back up and go right back through there again. There's one. Right under the boat. Huh. How crazy is that? This smallmouth, I just threw up here a little bit, and this smallmouth was right up on top. I just threw toward the top a little because I got a little too tight actually. So I just figured, well, we'll throw up there a little bit. He ain't a giant, but you know what? He's a good one. And he followed that off the top, I suppose. He was pretty doggone close to the boat when he bit it. Oh, jeez. Man, that's one thing about smallmouth. They don't got to be giants to fight hard. That's a great fish right there. That's just awesome. Man, that's a fun fish to catch. I don't know that there's a funner fish pound for pound than a smallmouth bass. You know, that's It's awesome right there. He ain't a giant, but boy, I'll tell you, he puts up a tussle. I mean, when it comes down to it, he has no interest in coming to a boat when he's being pulled that direction. Took a little deeper pass here. We'll just see if these fish are just sitting a little deeper. There's one right there. Just as I say it, look at that. Got him. Look at that, feels like a decent fish. There's still fish out here deep too. There's fish shallow, moving up, getting started. Look at that, this is a good one too. And there's fish deep. This is still a fish right here that was affected by that storm earlier. He's still sitting here deep. He's willing to eat, he's just not willing to get on top yet. This is a big smallmouth, or at least a good one. Man, smallmouth on light tackle, I don't know that there's anything a whole lot more fun than that. Oh yeah, good fish. You can see him back here. He's a little bit behind me. There he is. Look at this. Nice smallmouth. He's gonna hit the surface and get upset. Look at that. Come here, buddy. Look at that. He ain't a giant, but I'll tell you what, he's a good one. Come here. That's awesome. Yeah, that is a good fish. I want to tell you a little bit about how I'm fishing these fish today too, because I think this is one of the neatest techniques, and it's a really simple deal. Anybody can do it. I know it's easy to go fishing and just get to a point where at times you're just dragging your bait. Look at that smallie. What a great fish. We'll get him back in. But it's really easy to get to that point where all you're doing is dragging your bait. And this is a tactic that I'm using today that is really the exact opposite of that. It's called wiggle worming. And a buddy of mine, Jeff Sundin, kind of coined the phrase, and he, you know, really is the one who told the world about this tactic. And the minute I started doing it with him, I just fell in love with it, because I'll tell you what, it is such an effective way to catch any species of fish right through the middle of summer. And it's not something that most people would think of doing, but boy, I'll tell you, it's effective. Let me explain it to you. Number one, I'm just fishing a 16th ounce jig. Now today I'm just using a simple Lindy jig. You can use a Lindy Live Bait Jig, you can use a Lindy jig, whatever it may be. And all I'm doing is threading that crawler on there. I mean, you can see how he's threaded on there. And we're putting him out there, and then one of the things you got to know about this is if you're just dragging a bait, a lot of times you just flat out won't get fish to react. So what we're doing here is I'm putting this out there, and if you watch, I'm holding my line in my fingertip, just like I'm Lindy rigging, treating this just like a Lindy rigging presentation. And all I'm doing is putting constant movement. It's just in my wrist. It's not a ton of movement. It's just that little bit, and I'm just bouncing that thing back, and I'm just dragging it along. Now, right now, I'm sitting out in 21 feet of water. In fact, there's a fish on the graph right now. That could be a walleye. I've slid out a little bit deeper here as I've been talking and dealing with that fish. But the reality of it is, all I'm doing is making that thing dance. And that whole crawler back there is just doing this. If you just drag it by them, there's a good chance they're not going to react. But doing what I'm doing, making it dance by them, just makes it hard for these fish to resist it. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. I don't care if I'm smallmouth bass fishing. I don't care if I'm walleye fishing. Man, they all just seem to love this technique. And it's just because it's tantalizing and it's a big bait for them. This is a summertime technique. It's really an aggressive way of fishing a jig. It's really just banging that jig along. And here's the other thing about it that I find really interesting. This isn't necessarily a bottom contact deal either. All I'm doing is casting it back there, and every now and then I'll get in the bottom because I'll pick up some weeds, or I'll get into a rock. But the reality of it is, I might be 2, 3, 4 feet above the bottom a lot of the time, and we're just getting those fish to come up and react to it because it's just dancing along, and they just can't resist it. So it's really simple. You can take the kids out and do this. You can take mom, grandpa, anybody out and do this, and all you're doing is casting it out and just kind of working your way along. 16th ounce jig, I mean, it just doesn't get a whole lot easier than this. But one of the biggest keys is fishing that whole crawler. You definitely want to fish that whole crawler. In fact, you'll see today that when I get nipped off, I don't fish that half crawler like I might behind a spinner, because I want that whole crawler doing that swimming deal, doing that tantalizing deal. I think it makes a big, big difference. If you go to that half crawler, you don't get nearly as much of this back there, and it just doesn't seem like you get as many bites. But this wiggle worming deal, man, if you haven't done it, if you haven't read about it, if you haven't seen it before on Fish Ed, you got to get out and do it, because it's just fun. It's just fun fishing. There's one. Got him. Wow. You want to talk coming off into deep water. I just picked up the controller to turn the boat because I'm out now off the end. Look at that. Fish went airborne right there. I'm out off the end here. What do I got here? It's just, well, I mean, it jumped. It's got to be a smallmouth. I don't think it was a pike. Here it comes up again. Look at that. Wow, airborne again. It's a nice smallmouth, way out off the edge. I mean, there's no way I was anywhere near the bottom with this jig out here. I mean, I'm way out. I'm in 40 feet of water now. I mean, that's how far off the edge I got. And this big smallmouth, he's sitting out here. That's a really good one too. Oh yeah, look at this one. Awesome fish. Come here, buddy. Look at that. Oh, man, that is a great fish. What a way to wrap up a day. I'll tell you what, this is some fun fishing. Smallmouth fishing on jigs and light tackle. Fish like that, man, they'll eat this kind of stuff all day. What an awesome smallmouth bass. Get out and do some wiggle worming. You know what? This is a really neat, fun technique. Anybody can do it. And I'll tell you what, fish like that, they can't resist it. That's an awesome fish. Get out of here, buddy.